Big news headlines for the state of Texas, plus New York and many others. Last night, there was a devastating loss, televised live on national TV. Announcements by different branches of government in regard to curfew mandates for people's safety. And these two silent killers continue to plague all these people all around the world. Welcome to the Squirrel Tribe. Thank you for being here. If it's your first time, I hope you enjoy. If you are returning, thank you for coming back. I love you immensely. I would like to just quickly say for everybody who wished me well yesterday, because yesterday I felt absolutely awful. I was dizzy, my ear hurt, my head hurt. Everything felt wrong yesterday. I feel much, much better today. So thank you very much. I have been able to take my C-bands off. I slept in them just to be on the safe side, drank a lot of water, stayed away from anything processed yesterday. And today I feel almost 100% better. I would say 99.8% better. So thank you for all your well wishes. It means a lot to me. All right, let's just go ahead and jump in this. So the Dallas Cowboys. Let me just say, some people love them, some people hate them. Most of the time, it's a strong one or the other feeling. Not many people are middle of the road, I could care less. They either love them or they hate them. Well, according to Fox News reports from earlier this morning, they failed to reach conference championship once again, and the Cowboys face blitzes of criticism after demoralizing playoff loss dubbed "No Show for the Ages." Kevin and I caught the tail end of that game last night for a little mini date night. It was fun. Now, also, other news hitting the state of Texas. Houston Public Works warns residents to not drip faucets during freezing, adding how the same question arises during every Houston freeze: to drip or not to drip. But they said the answer remains the same. So with frigid temperatures on the way and the possibility of frozen pipes hanging over Houston homeowners' heads, the question still stands: do you drip your faucets or not? The answer is no if your water comes from a pumping station, which is most everyone in Houston, Texas. Conversely, the answer is yes if your water comes from a water tower, which are some areas outside of Houston. You would have to know which one your water comes from to know the answer of yes or no. The city of Houston's water is run through pump stations on the ground, not water towers. City officials are urging Houston residents to not drip their faucets because it could put pressure on the water system, potentially shutting it down. Running faucets has a huge negative impact on our water pressure. This is according to Aaron Jones, who is a spokesperson for Houston Public Works. If water pressure gets too low, then you get a burn water notice, and you don't want that in the middle of a freeze. Instead, the city does recommend that residents open the cabinet doors under the sink next to outside walls to let heat in, shut off water to washing machines in unheated garages, and monitor pipes that have been frozen in the past. Houstonians who expect to be out of town during the Arctic freeze should prepare their homes beforehand by draining their outside faucets or leaving their home heating system on a low temperature. An anticipated cold freeze is expected to hit Houston in the next few days, and city officials are asking residents to prepare for the frigid weather as soon as possible. On Tuesday, the Energy Reliability Council of Texas notified the public that the state will experience extreme cold weather across the region from Monday, today, January 15th, to Wednesday, January 17th, and the grid conditions are expected to be normal. Fingers crossed on that one for you guys in Houston. Temperatures in the Houston area Monday morning are predicted to be in the 20s, with the high of the day reaching approximately 37 degrees. Sub-freezing temperatures are expected again on Tuesday, and the area will not warm considerably until Wednesday afternoon. These are some tips to follow ahead of freezing weather, just so you guys know. Wrap up any outside pipes or pipes in unheated areas of your homes. Remove garden hoses that are tied to outdoor spouts, and turn off property sprinkler systems. I feel like those are things that anybody who lives in areas that gets freeze warnings often, those are things you probably know. But in case you've just moved to an area that gets freeze warnings, those are 3 things you can do to protect your water system. Now, for renters, Houston Public Works said landlords must maintain rental properties to the standards outlined in the city code. Heating equipment must maintain a minimum inside temperature of 70 degrees Fahrenheit, measured 3 feet above the floor, in case you didn't know where they measure from, when it is 20 degrees Fahrenheit outside. Now, suspected violators of the Houston Rental Code, water leaks, fallen trees, disrupted streetlights, and other concerns can all be reported to the city maintenance department. Here's a easy number if you're on your cell phone, 311, Or if you want to type in the number and call, it's 713-837-0311, just as a heads up. Over the next few days, more tips and info for the icy weather will be shared on the city's Public Works website and social media pages. Now, for those of you not in Houston who happen to also be in the path of this fun winter storm that's going through with the freezing temperatures, maybe you watch Ryan Hall, y'all, and you've seen the path or whatever. This pretty much works for every city, not just Houston. If you're on public water, pump station, do not let your water drip. If you're on a water tower, let your water drip. That's pretty much what this is saying. And always leave your cabinet doors open so your heat from in your home can get to the pipes so that you have less chance of freezing there. Even here where I am in the Panhandle, Florida, in Okaloosa County, we're getting down to, I think, 24 degrees tomorrow night. So even we are under freeze warnings, which when you move to Florida, you don't think to yourself, wow, I got to worry about freeze warnings in Florida. But it's hitting everybody because the weather has been extra special the last, I would say, year, maybe even longer, but it feels like the last year things have been like a massive roller coaster of crazy high temperatures and then crazy low temperatures and so many tornadoes in places you wouldn't expect them, earthquakes all over the place. It's been a little reckless weather-wise, it feels like, government, just FYI. Now, moving on, NYC, good old New York City, said to impose curfew on migrants staying at 4 centers across the city. And ABC 7 Eyewitness News has just reported, starting on Tuesday, that's tomorrow, my dudes, New York City will impose a curfew on 1,900 migrants staying at 4 different centers. The centers are located in Queens, Manhattan, and Brooklyn. Migrants will need to be there between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. Anyone who breaks the curfew 3 times in 30 days could be kicked out. I will say that a curfew makes sense if they've noticed an increase in robberies or any other kind of maybe vandalism or anything like that since the influx of migrants. But there are a lot of jobs out there that migrants will have that they can get where it would put them out past 11 p.m. or need to leave before 6 a.m. So I wonder how that works. If there's like a work curfew mandate workaround. I don't know how that works, honestly. Now, these are the 4 centers for anybody who is curious. If you happen to be in New York City or a migrant in New York City, I don't know. 35th Avenue, Astoria, and Judo, which is 37 through 11. I don't even know how to say New York addresses. 37-11, 35th Street, Queens, New York. You have Lincoln, Manhattan, which is 31-33 West 110th Street, New York. Well, I guess I should tell you the zip codes too, right? Y'all, look, let's just make this a little bit easier. These are the addresses right there. That makes life easier. Y'all see those addresses? There you go. Because I don't know how you're supposed to read them all out. JFK Respite Center, and then there's one in Stockton. All right, there you go. In total, the policy applies to approximately 1,900 asylum seekers across the 4 sites. Now, according to Business Insider, homes made in factories were supposed to save us from the housing crisis, but the companies that make them are failing. So this is a summary on an article, okay? Just to summarize it all, make it a little easier. The article discusses how factory-built housing, particularly modular construction, is seen as a potential solution to the housing shortage and affordability crisis. While modular housing can enhance efficiency and reduce costs, there have been numerous failures in the industry with companies like Katerra, Katerra, Veev, Veev, and Urban Splash facing financial challenges. The failures are attributed to inexperienced investors entering the construction industry without the necessary expertise. Despite the potential benefits of factory-built homes, restrictive government regulations, including zoning laws and building codes, often hinder their widespread adoption. These regulations, coupled with a lingering stigma around factory-built homes, contribute to the challenges faced by the industry. The article also mentioned the Biden administration's efforts to ease regulations and increase the supply of factory-built housing. However, the author of the article argued that the main obstacles for the industry are the lack of consistent demand, high transportation costs, and the decentralized nature of construction. Investors are skeptical about the demand for modular housing in most markets, and the industry lacks major players willing to invest in the long term. Successful projects like Factory OS in the San Francisco Bay Area are attributed to experienced individuals with deep knowledge of the construction industry who understand market demands. Basically, while factory-built housing holds promise for addressing housing issues, challenges such as regulatory barriers, inconsistent demand, and inexperienced investors pose significant hurdles for the industry's success. Now, when I read this, I thought to myself, I don't know if it's exactly the same, how back in the day you could literally get a Sears catalog and order a house out of a Sears catalog. And because it was before my time, I don't know if you order a house out of Sears catalog, if this massive semi shows up with basically a IKEA style put it together yourself house with like, here's your hammer, here's your drill, and this is how it works. Good luck. Or was it, you order this house through the Sears catalog and then an entire construction crew shows up and builds it for you? Like, how does that work? Because that's what I think about with these when they're talking about factory built housing. Is it these little modular things like you can order on Amazon and stuff now that are back in stock? Even Wayfair has these little factory built, like tiny homes are called. Is it the same kind of thing as what it used to be back in the day in the Sears catalog? That was just my thoughts. And I know some of you are in my age bracket and some of you are older. So if you are older and you understand how the Sears order a home through Sears catalog worked, I would love it and appreciate it beyond everything. If you would jump in the comments and let me know if you ever did it, if you ever saw it, if you know how it worked, because I'm curious. Okay. So that's that. Now, here we're moving on here. Okay. The latest data points suggest that inflation is still hitting Americans hard because a new survey finds that 7 out of 10, or roughly 72% of Americans say groceries are where they feel inflation the most, which we talk about that all the time. A lot of people obviously are going to feel it in gas prices, depending on where you are, in your electric bill, your gas bill, in your insurance, and in your mortgage and your rent if you're renting. But I think all of us across the board can feel it at the grocery stores. Like, that's a common thing that we all buy. Not all of us have a car. Not all of us have a house. Not all of us have property taxes. You know what I mean? But we all need food to eat, to live. So all of us can feel what it's like to go into the grocery store and go, this went up again. I know it's only 5 cents, but at this point, every 5 cents, a nickel every single week really, really starts to add up and piss you off. You know what I'm saying? So according to this, Fox News says Biden touts cooling inflation, but prices are up. We all know Biden doesn't know his ass from his elbow, so there's that. Inflation still looms large over many Americans' heads as they head to the grocery store. A recent Axios Vibes survey found that 59% of respondents felt angry, anxious, or resigned while shopping for groceries, with anger being the most common emotion. Been there, felt that, my dudes. Like, seriously. 72% of respondents also said that groceries are where they feel the most effects of inflation. Though inflation has largely fallen from record highs in 2022, prices are still significantly higher than they were before 2020. And this is what bothers me. This is from an article. I'm giving you the information here, but then when they say prices are still significantly higher than they were before 2020, and they've fallen from record highs of 2022, they're not talking about the grocery store. They're talking about other things. They're talking about the ability to go out and buy a used car. That pricing has come back down, because for a minute there in 2022, to buy a used car would cost you more than buying a new car because of the chip shortage, right? And other things along the lines. Houses, were more expensive, and now those prices are coming down. But in the grocery store, where it matters, those prices aren't coming down. You may see, if you go to Walmart, you'll see we've had a rollback. We've saved you 7 cents on this can of green beans, and that's cool. But you jacked that price up 40 cents. So are you really saving me 7 cents? No, you're still charging me 33 cents more than you did previous to the hike up. You know what I'm saying? So I read these things and I bring them to you so I can give you their numbers and whatnot. But let's be really honest about this. They will always sugarcoat and find loopholes and ways to word things so it sounds better than it actually is by not giving you the full everything, the full story. You know what I mean? That's what I'm here for. I'm gonna pick this crap apart and give you everything they're not saying. So based on data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Americans must spend approximately $125.51 for groceries that would have previously cost $100 in December of 2019. So they must spend approximately, like an averaging, whatever. So we have gone up $25.51 in 3 years is what they're saying. But if you've been to the grocery store, we all know that it's definitely higher than that. In December of 2023, inflation, in fact, rose 0.3% to 3.4% compared to the same time in the previous month. Though it is still significantly below its peak, that is still well above the Federal Reserve's ideal 2% target. And we have to remember that 2% target isn't that inflation has only gone up 2%. It's that it didn't go up more than 2% in this time frame. So when they're saying that it's significantly below its peak, meaning its peak was, 10% in 1 month, it's still an extra 3.4% on top of that peak 10%. It's not like it dropped. It's not like it did anything else. It's just, it's not 10% now when it was 10% before. And the way they phrase things in these articles that most people are going to read and go, oh, no, that's great, it's only 3.4%, is because they're not giving you the actual math. And y'all know my math does not math, but it does when it comes to stuff like this. So at least my brain is braining today. I am happy about that. Fox Business calculations found that since the start of 2021, food prices have gone up 33.7%, shelter costs went up 18.7%, and energy prices increased by 32.8%. Moody's Analytics also reported that Americans spent $211 more a month compared to the same time last year. What has changed about any of these things? What has changed that would require it to go up 33.7% for food, or 18.7% for shelters, or 32.8% for energy prices? It's the same energy. It's the same flipping shelter. It's the same food. The only thing has changed is the greed of the corporations. That's where it all comes down to. Nothing has changed in the long run. That house that was $150,000 20 years ago and is now $400,000 and hasn't had a single thing on it touched, nothing has changed with that house. What has changed is the economy and what people are willing to pay, what people are being forced to pay, and things like that. So these increases, these significant double-digit percentage increases, in my opinion, are absolute trash, and it shouldn't be where we are. Just whatever. Overall, Americans are now paying, on average, $1,020 more each month compared with the same time just 2 years ago. Who's getting paid an extra $1,020 a month from their job to make up for what they're paying right now? Not many people. I can guarantee you not many people have gotten a pay rate to increase to go with the inflation increase across the board. It's not how it works. Your job may give you a 3% increase and you're like, yes, that's great. But when your food has gone up 33.7%, how does that help? Your shelter costs have gone up 18.7%. How does that 3% raise help? Your energy price is 32.8%. How does that 3% help? It might help, this much, but we need this much help, plain and simple. And we're not getting it from our government, from the corporations, or from our jobs. Whoa, calm yourself, Michelle. In a Fox News national survey in November, 68% of voters reported feeling unhappy with how things are going in the country, with, I'm guessing the other 32% were asleep during the survey, in the country, with 78% saying that the economy is in bad shape since President Biden took office. The number included 61% of Democrats. So even the Democrats are going, well, we done effed up, Aaron, we probably should rethink this. So hopefully 2024 is going to see a massive shift in November. Y'all, we're there. Only 14% said they were helped economically during the Biden administration. Those 14% were probably people like, I don't know, Doug McMillon, the CEO of Walmart, or maybe Elon Musk, or maybe Jeff Bezos, or maybe anybody else in that 1%, maybe a Kardashian because they have so many flipping TV shows and whatever else out there. Biden has frequently touted Bidenomics and touted the recent December numbers as a sign of economic improvement. This is not my words. This is Biden. If you notice, they're feeling much better about what the economy is doing. What we haven't done is letting them know exactly who got it changed. Everybody's doing better and they believe it. They know it. And it's just beginning to sink in. His words. I didn't change anything. That's how he said it. I don't know if it was the ice cream messing with his brain, but that's not. Anyway, now this is the last one. We talked about this already on that Netflix show. Y'all already forgot the freaking name of it. The Netflix show where they did the twin thing. You are what you eat. We talked about it already, but there was an article that came out, basically vegan versus carnivore. And I just want to give you the information that they gave here. If you remember what we talked about, I said the whole show is a gimmick to push, people towards veganism and to say how bad everything else is. Like the whole show was, they named it one thing and they gave you something totally different. And I was like, I see what you did there. So I'm going to put that video at the end of this one so you can watch it if you haven't seen it, so you'll understand. But here goes. You ready? Vegan diet versus meat-based diet. Identical twins followed different meal plans. Here's what happened. This is Fox News report. The twins who ate plant-based diets experienced significant cardiometabolic benefits, but the study had limitations. While identical twins share a significant amount of DNA, their dietary choices can lead to very different health outcomes for them. In March of 2022, different sets of identical adult twins participated in a randomized clinical trial in which one twin adopted a vegan, fully plant-based diet, and the other ate an omnivore meat-eating diet, okay? So they had 22 sets of twins, only 21 completed it. And what they did was they sat them down in a room and they basically had to pick a thing out of a hat, basically, to see who was gonna go vegan and who was gonna go carnivore. But they did not say, which one was going, carnivore? Yeah, carnivore. They did not say which one was going to be which. Like, they did not determine ahead of time. It was a luck of the draw kind of thing. The findings published in JAMA Network Open on November 30th, 2003 showed that the twins who consumed a healthy vegan diet had significantly improved low density lipoprotein cholesterol concentration, fasting insulin level, and weight loss when compared to the twins who ate diets containing meat. LDL, which is the low density lipoprotein, also known as bad cholesterol, should be kept low to reduce the risk for cardiovascular disease. Every expert agrees on this. Regular people agree on this. In order to keep yourself from having cardiovascular disease, you need less of the bad cholesterol, right? The reduced fasting insulin level, which dropped by 20%, indicates that the twins that had less insulin resistance, which means they were less likely to develop diabetes and metabolic syndrome. Okay, also a plus. Even when compared to a healthy, this article says omnivorous diet and feeding on both plant and animal. Okay, so they did animal. Yeah, it was omnivorous, not carnivore. My bad. They had plant and animal based when they did the study, and then one was fully vegan. That's my bad there. Where was I? Even when compared to a healthy omnivorous or omnivorous, I think it's omnivorous, diet that includes plant foods, there can be additional health advantages to incorporating more plants in the diet and eating less meat. This is according to lead researcher Christopher Gardner, PhD, a professor of medicine at Stanford Medicine, and what he told Fox News Digital. This is again from an article here. All participants were healthy and had no history of cardiovascular disease. The twins adhered to their assigned diets between May and July of 2022 for an 8-week period. Both the vegan and the omnivorous diets were considered healthy, replete with vegetables, legumes, fruits, and whole grains, and void of sugars and refined starches, according to the study article. Now, let me just go ahead and say that was a very unrealistic study, because most people at home that decide they want to go vegan or decide they're going to do an omnivorous diet or even the carnivore diet, they're not going to get the same void of sugars and refined starches that they did in this study. So the study itself, in my opinion, was not really geared towards you and I trying to do the same thing at home. It was extremely easy for these people to see differences based off the fact that they had the money to put into the clean, healthy foods. They didn't have to go to Walmart and try to find everything with the processed foods and whatever else. And they were fed. They had the meals given to them, delivered to them. They didn't have to cook them for the first 8 weeks or 4 weeks. So it was, again, it's not really the best, in my opinion, as an example of vegan versus omnivorous. But anyway, the vegan diet contained only plant-based foods with no meat or animal products, as a vegan diet should. The omnivore diet included chicken, fish, eggs, cheese, dairy, and other animal source foods, which is what the researchers noted. For the first 4 weeks of the study, the participant meals were provided by delivery service. Again, they didn't have to cook anything. For the second half of the study, the twins cooked all their own meals. And watching the video, they had to go out and buy their own foods, and they started making choices that were not in those pre-cooked meals. They got stuff with sugar and starches and things like that, where in the first half, those were voided, right, by the people who did the ordering and the cooking and the delivery for them. So it kind of skewed the whole thing, in my personal opinion. Researchers gathered weight data and blood samples for the participants at the start of the study, then at the 4-week and the 8-week mark, so they could have a, timeline of what changed. When evaluating the outcome of the end of the 8 weeks, the Stanford researchers partnered with a Kentucky-based company called True Diagnostic, which measures biological age based on epigenetics, the study of how someone's environment and lifestyle affects their genes. that was the only part that I found interesting in the whole entire thing. The True Diagnostic Group initially reported back to us that one of the groups had experienced a statistically significant shift that implied a decrease in biological age. Meaning, if a set of twins were 22 when they went in, the one who ate the vegan diet ended up coming out with like the digital, what do they call it? The biological age looking more like 19. Whereas the one who was on the omnivorous diet came out either looking their age or maybe a year or two older. So they're saying that what your diet does, the way it affects your innards, basically your body and your brain and everything else, determines what your biological age is. Your birth certificate may say you're 22, but the way you eat and the way your body is working can say that you're closer to 18, or the way you're eating can say you're closer to 40 at 22 because of all the things you've put into your body. I found that part interesting personally. Now, as a reminder, both the vegan and omnivore diets were considered healthy, replete with vegetables, legumes, fruits, and whole grains, and void of sugars and refined starches, according to the study that was noted by Gardner and Fox News Digital. And at the time, they were blinded to the study groups and didn't know if this was for the omnivorous or the vegan group. It turned out the vegan group was the one that showed the decrease in age, which is what I was going to say, because the vegan group ended up with less processed foods, because a lot of stuff in omnivorous diets are highly processed these days, especially if they're eating deli meats and things like that. This was the most surprising finding, said Gardner. I assume the 8-week intervention from this study would be too short to cause any meaningful changes. And yet they were able to see a meaningful biological age difference just in 8 weeks between vegan and omnivorous. Looking ahead, he noted that further research is warranted to replicate these findings. And as dietitians weigh, there's a lady named Michelle Rothenstein, a New York City-based cardiology dietitian, not involved in the study at all, but said there are many different factors that could explain the outcome. The cardiometabolic advantage is observed in healthy adult identical twins adhering to a healthful plant-based diet, in contrast to those on a healthful omnivorous diet, can be explained by factors such as decreased saturated fat intake, increased dietary fiber, increased antioxidant content, incorporation of beneficial fats, enhanced insulin sensitivity, and potential positive effects on the gut microbiome, was what this lady told Fox News Digital. Now, these elements collectively contribute to favorable alterations in lipid profiles, insulin levels, and body weight, highlighting the potential benefit of a well-structured plant-based diet in addressing cardiometabolic risk factors among healthy individuals. The key components of healthy dietary changes are education and personalization. Plain and simple. It's not even fully what you eat, whether it's meat or plants. It's what works best for your body, because what works best for you may have the complete opposite effect on me, because our bodies are going to be completely different. A fully vegan diet can be deficient in iron, calcium, and vitamin B12. As somebody who went vegan for 3 years, I can tell you from experience that I went vegan without having the full knowledge of what I needed to sustain a healthy body. And I definitely have paid the price for it with my teeth and with my mental everything. I had low B12, low iron, low calcium. And it's not something I would do ever again. So that's me personally. If you guys want more on that, let me know. I can make you a whole video about how that all went. Now, people seeking to change their diet should seek assistance from a registered dietitian to ensure they are meeting their nutrition needs and health goals. That is very different for a teenage male trying to gain muscle compared to a woman in her 30s trying to become pregnant. This is all, again, from this Rothensberger, whatever her name is, Rothenstein lady, the dietitian. Someone can become a vegan and still eat cookies, sodas, French fries, and other processed foods all day long, but that wouldn't lead to healthier outcomes, which is one of the issues that I ended up, as I went along my vegan route, I ended up incorporating the crap vegan food just because I missed the whole going out to eat and having the burger and the fries. So then I started incorporating French fries. I missed chocolates and things like that. So I started incorporating Oreos because those things are vegan. And you can definitely feel and see a difference when you go from clean vegan to processed vegan. It is not the same at all. Let's see, where are we? Although the vegans also lost an average of 4.2 more pounds than the omnivores, weight loss isn't always the most important factor when determining the success of a diet. This was noted by Tanya Freirich, who is a registered dietitian nutritionist in Charlotte, North Carolina, who practices the lupus dietitian. But let me also say what they did not say in this article. The ones who lost 4.2 more pounds than the omnivore, the vegans did, they lost muscle mass. They didn't lose just fat, they lost muscle at the same time. Muscle weighs more than fat. So to me, that's a significant loss personally. For example, bodybuilders would seem to be overweight if you were just examining their weight to height because their muscle weighs so much more. Additionally, people can be healthy in a variety of shapes and sizes and weights. Ideally, we should look more in depth at the type of weight loss with each diet. This is what she said, and that is dependent on many other factors such as exercise and the actual food chosen in the vegan or omnivore diet, including portions and meal combinations. We've talked about it numerous times. The majority of Americans are considered obese, and it's because of the highly processed foods that are on our shelves, right? But it's also because we have a tendency to overfill our plates and then overeat. We don't need as many calories as the majority of us consume on a daily basis. Me being one of those people, I have got to learn to portion control much better than I do, but I let my taste buds take over, and then you gain 30, 40 pounds and you're like, what the hell just happened? You did it to yourself, boo-boo. I'm talking to me at this point. But a lot of us are in the same boat, so there's that. Lastly, the study had limitations and says that all of the study participants were generally healthy to begin with. Gardner acknowledged that the outcomes can't be generalized to younger or older people or to those with health issues. And an eight-week timeline was definitely another limitation. Ideally, we would run studies for many months or years to better understand how sustainable these kinds of diet changes are. And the reality is very few people are willing to volunteer to be randomized to one diet or another if the study is going to go on for months or years. As somebody who went vegan for 3 years and did not do it correctly, I would say, if you're going to do it, make sure you fully understand what you're doing to your body. Gardner also emphasized that there are many different ways to follow an omnivorous or vegan diet. It is fairly easy for nutritionists to design both a healthy and an unhealthy version of both of those diet patterns, is what was said. If others reading about the study are interested in one and want to try this, they may choose an unhealthy vegan diet. For example, soda is vegan, many candies are vegan, and white refined flour is vegan. So based on the study's findings, the researchers recommend that people try to experiment by adding more vegetables, beans, fruits, nuts, seeds, and whole grains to their diet. Unless, of course, gluten is a thing where it bothers you. You have celiac disease, stay away from whole grains and things like that. Across all popular diet plans, there is a broad consensus that focuses on more whole foods, more vegetables, less added sugars, and less refined grains that would lead to a striking degree of health improvement. This is according to Gardner, who is the vice chair of the American Heart Association Nutrition Committee. Now, the best recommendation, according to Fryerich, is for those trying to change their diet for the better is to focus less on the label of being completely vegan or omnivorous and instead focus on how many unprocessed foods, especially plants, you can include in your diet, and consuming more beans, lentils, chickpeas, mushrooms, nuts, and seeds, as well as fewer processed meats for protein, is a great way for anyone to get started improving their cardiovascular health, she noted. These foods are generally lower in saturated fats and sodium and higher in fiber, she has said. Your diet needs to work for you and your lifestyle for your whole life, not only 8 weeks. In conclusion, she says following a vegan diet in this study has been linked with better cardiovascular health, but a completely vegan diet may not be the right answer for everyone, which is what I'm saying. Every single person is different. It's going to be what works best for you and whatever you are looking to accomplish, whatever you want for the long run, what is going to work best with your body type. I know that I shouldn't eat as much red meat as I do because it immediately makes me hurt. Like my joints and everything hurt if I eat steak, if I eat too much ground beef and things like that. So I don't do it as often as I used to because going vegan, I realized that was one of the things when I went back to meat, that was one of the main differences that I could visually see and feel. And I knew for a fact that beef and things like that bother my body. Doesn't mean it does it to everybody else. You could be perfectly fine. Whereas fish may be something that makes your body do weird things, right? So everybody's going to be a little bit different. But I just wanted to bring all this information to you. Thank you for hanging out with me today, Squirrel Tribe. I love you all immensely. I hope you are having a fabulous day. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. Love you. Bye.